Hello, my name is Hoon. What I'm telling you in 15 minutes, it's about how to finance social enterprises through capital markets. Before I'm telling this story, this is not academic argument. This is very policy-oriented, practice-oriented matters. But this is a very well-known subject in Europe especially, but Asia is a bit lags behind. And I think that today's session, in the context of Shanghai Forum, can facilitate this emerging subject globally and further develop in the region of Asia, led by Korea and China. My presentation is not that long. Having said that, I would focus on capital markets. So I assume that we are in the same page on what is social enterprise, what is social finance is about, and then my topic is really narrowing down the typical topic, that particular section of social finance, which is capital market, can function best in helping social enterprise. If you look at the whole landscape of social finance, you will see a lot of interactions between suppliers and buyers, and even intermediaries through a long list of financial products. That landscape indicates clearly there are different levels of interest. There are different profiles, appetites, risks, and return in doing social enterprises, even for financiers who are interested in social enterprises. And it is not surprising that all those different types of financial products have different characteristics in terms of cash flows and compensation schemes against risks. And this is another way I present how capital market functions better, the risky project, which is social enterprise project. I use this graphical presentation explaining how we finance innovative firms, the venture companies, the startups. Usually, it is pretty much analogous situation where the unknown startups with technology, nothing but technology, approaches financier, typically banks or investors or angel investors. Let me work on this a little bit. Actually, it is from my paper about a study on innovative firms in Korea. I proudly can tell you my data set is the most comprehensive data set, panel data set, for more than 10 years, including all the SMEs existing in Korea, last 10, 12 years. So talking about the supply side of funds, we all know that the supplier's expectation of his compensation against his investment, if he chooses that instrument, his return will follow that curve in case of that. So even though firm values increases, your return is capped with interest rate, which is fixed interest rate. Say floating rate, still capped. In case of bankruptcy, you don't lose everything. You can get paid depending on the remaining assets proportionate to your claims. Therefore, the declining curve then capped floor. In case of equity, you can share the upside without limit. This is good news. If I found the second Bill Gates in China, I will be rich 100 times, 200 times. The sky is the limit. Having said that, if I chose wrong guy, my return is nil. There is a little chance that I get paid in case of bankruptcy. And then how I can monitor the investee. In case of bank, you are the single lonely loan officer who should decide whether the project is viable or not. And you will take the responsibility. In case of capital market instruments, typically equity, you don't have to worry about it. There are so many angels, so many investors in the market. They will monitor, they will do a collective intellectual practices so that they can choose, monitor, and finalize the investment or not. In case of there is a crisis in the investee company or project, bank can negotiate with the investee. In case of capital market, there is no negotiation. Leave it or take it. Therefore, there is a lot of discipline vis-a-vis investee from a financier's point of view. From the fund demand side, which is borrower, investee, they have a different consideration when they opt for the debt instrument and equity investment, equity instrument. Typically, if they are not sure about their information, if there is a high possibility of agency problem, which is very much the case in case of venture enterprises, or unknown singer who wanted to put up a show, or unknown painter who wanted to make an exhibition, you never know whether you can fly or not. And there is a huge asymmetry of information between the author and financier. In that case, you better choose that instrument because the value you believe in your project is much higher than outsider. So you may not agree with the price that financier might offer to you. It's little chance that you will get the agreement. The same goes, so my point is there are reasons why high-risk project like startups, innovative project, like social startups, social enterprises tend to rely on equity finance instead of debt finance. Why it explains why SEs easily rejected commercial banks when they apply for any loan. Instead, equity is more better absorber of risks, which is based on bigger information asymmetry as well as opaque information. Now, sorry that is the difference of the configuration of PowerPoint software, I think. Simply, I just wanted to share with you the advantages of market-based funding vis-a-vis in dealing with a common challenge in social finance. So in terms of measurement, in terms of incentives, in terms of institutions, and in terms of ecosystem building, they have clear distinctive advantages. Let me take an example that the SPC, which is a particular project run by SK Group, and its implication to the subject today, that is how we can best finance social enterprises through capital market instruments. In terms of incentives, it began with a grant program but with a certain discipline, like 25% compensation to social value instead of 100%. There is a 3-year contract for measuring, evaluation, and grant, but they are allowed to stay as a target companies for impact investment fund. And the more promising schedules are waiting for them in terms of impact study and a trace study and consulting service down the road. As to the measurement system, it tries to hinge upon more monetary value closest to market price in the name of objectivity of compensation. It is different from scoring system that you have been you have heard in the first session. And in the 4 different areas, it is measurement-based grant system. And it has a vision to mainstreaming this SPC system into the social finance landscape in future. And you may compare the landscape that I provided with this particular project. And it's even working on the impact fund based on SPC system. And this one is very typically based on a very usual, typical investment private equity fund structure, but with the focus on social enterprises. The benefit of time, I would focus on this slide only, then would thank you. So what is the implication of this SPC to the capital market? Since we are relying on, from the beginning on the more quantitative measurement, this would certainly serve as a public information infrastructure when social enterprises are being transacted in the capital market, in the public market. In terms of incentives, once they becomes SPC beneficiary, they will get a higher profile, a better financial strength, therefore much better chances to get accepted in the capital market. And in terms of institutions, I'm long been adamant to the idea of setting up the social stock exchange. Instead of building new institutions, new intermediaries, we better induce existing infrastructure and platforms to deal with social enterprises, social financing activities, and that would minimize further social cost. Finally, the current government, NPO, FPOs will be further induced with more comfort, with more security to this social finance landscape. That's all I can tell you. I'll entertain your questions in the last Q&A session. Thank you very much.